Hey guys, it's Ryan here with HobbiesofaMan. Once again, and today we're going to be doing another comic book review. Today we're going to be looking at issue number 2 of Blasfamous. This is an oversized book from DSTLRY, created basically exclusively by Mirka and Andolfo, who I end up quite liking. I really love her art style, even though her storytelling maybe isn't the best all the time. Sometimes it's really good, and in this case, I thought it was quite good today. I was really happy with what happened here, right? So, besides Mirka and Andolfo, there's some color work done by Gianluca Papi. The letters are done by Mauricio Clausi. The localization is done by Steve Orlando, right? So I guess this is initially written in Italian by Mirka and then translated over to English by Steve Orlando, right? So cool. There's this interesting like semi wraparound cover. Like, you know, this is the main image, but then you kind of turn it a little bit to reveal a little bit more of the image. And that's kind of cool, but also kind of unnecessary. Like, this is not important enough to warrant doing it. You can just leave it as this, right? And it'd be fine. But, you know, that's how they chose to do it. There's no changes from last time. And in terms of the story here, I think it's still a bit confusing in the sense that things aren't really clear. They're kind of like all over the place. And you get these like flashbacks, and then you get these like moments in, you know, following one character and then another character. And it doesn't really coalesce that much into a single story. So it's kind of hard to follow sometimes. But broadly speaking, I think that this is a much better showing for the series. I think it was much more enjoyable. There was a lot of interesting stuff here that happened that made me quite excited to see where it goes. However, I still don't really understand, you know, what is going on here, and you know, kind of what the time frame and time scale of the story will be, because I mean, if this is supposed to be like a European style thing, you know, kind of based around the European album, basically the story should be kind of done by now, right? most albums are like 80 to 100 pages, and they're single stories, and you know, they sometimes go over that and they become like multi-album stories, but as far as I understand, not that often, right? And then they get put together into these things called integrals, which are, you know, three album omnibuses, right? And if DSTLRY is going to follow this, it feels like there should be more progression going on, because I don't feel like there is, right? But I still really enjoy what was happening this issue, right? So basically, it starts with this dude showing this video of Clelia. I want to call her Celia, and I think that, I don't know why Mirka and Andolfo called her Clelia, right? Like, that doesn't necessarily feel like an old-timey name. It honestly feels more like something a Japanese author would do, right? Like, Japanese people or Japanese authors of manga really like going with European aesthetics and then trying to make European names, but they can't just pick Alice or you know, Romina or whatever. They have to come up with like these crazy, insanely spelled names that are vaguely like actual European names, right? And Clelia, to me, feels very similar to something like that. And I think I might just call her Celia throughout the review. So if I do that, I apologize in advance, right? But so Clelia suicides, and then this guy is showing a recording of her basically reviving, right? And what he's saying is, you know, is this really a miracle? Because suicide is not really allowed by God, right? So how is this happening? And he's saying this to and he's showing this to Lev, the pastor Lev or something. I can't remember what title he has. And he's trying to basically use it as blackmail material, right? And Lev just killed him. And so this kind of starts this plot line that's going to happen with Lev throughout the arc, which I'll just tell you now. And then I'll go back to Clelia's arc, right? So basically Lev kills this guy and then goes off to, you know, heaven or hell or whatever this other entity, place, dimension is, and he meets with his siblings and his mother, Lilith, you know, like, you know, Adam's original wife or whatever. And well, they're quite demonic looking, obviously. There's this weird pit, and it looks like one of the souls there gets reconstituted at some point and becomes relevant to nearly at the end of the story with Clelia, vaguely. And basically, there's this big, important conversation between Lev and Lilith about how Clelia is not effective at the moment. She's not useful as a tool right now. So they have to, speed up the process of her sanctification, right? Of her ascending her dying, achieving some level of martyrdom or sainthood, and being sanctified, put away, given, special honors, and then kind of hidden away for 200 years before they bring her back as a new person with a new identity, right? And Lev is quite against this. He's not happy with this result. I'm unsure why. But it seems like in the first book, it felt very much like he was invested in, emotionally in the commitment he made to Clelia as, her owner, basically. But in this one, it feels very much like he's interested in her as a person, which is very different and feels not out of character, but deeper than, it actually seemed like at the beginning. So I don't know if this is good writing or bad writing. I think that this just kind of there's an inconsistency here, and I don't know if the inconsistency is, done on purpose or done accidentally and just no one bothered to fix it. So that's a little bit annoying in that sense, but I find this compelling. I really like that Lev is she's fucked up right now, but we're going to try to fix her, and I actually care about her, and I want to help her succeed, right? I don't think it's time to get rid of her yet, right? So I like that. I think that that's good. It provides more character for this character, right? So yeah, and the whole time that they're talking is quite tense, right? He kind of gets angry and decides to leave, and he's like, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm going to do things my own way. And then there's this kind of slip of information here, which is that Dorothy, the girl that is helping Clelia, was not sent by his mother, right? So it's not exactly clear at the point, but we kind of get this tidbit of foreshadowing, right? So that was good. Then we have Clelia's storyline, which is basically that she's doing this emo/punk concert, and she's doing it as part of her therapy, but her therapy is kind of stupid. It doesn't really work. It doesn't make sense either. It's fake, right? As far as I understand it. And this is later revealed to be properly fake. It was a situation done on purpose in order to make her worse off, to discredit her, to make her seem worse, and to drive her to do negative things, right? And this is because of something that gets revealed later on, which I'll tell you once we get there, right? So after she does this concert, she goes back to her room. She's talking to Dorothy, and Dorothy just stabs her in the forehead. And I don't know how she's strong enough to push a knife through Clelia's skull. At the time, I didn't know. I know now why. But there was another kind of sign of something is up with this character, right? And when she stabs Clelia through the forehead, this unlocks another one of Clelia's memories. And it turns out that Clelia was a lesbian 600 years ago as of the time frame of the book, which I think is supposed to be 2024, right? So 600 years ago would be 1440 or something, or 1480, right? Something like that. 1424, actually. And she's a lesbian. She hides under the cloth. So she uses the fact that she's a daughter of God, a nun, to hide this perversion, right, in quotation marks, that she has. And she gets constantly told by the other nuns, we know that you're still doing this. We know what sort of perversions you're into. Just because you act like you're one of us doesn't necessarily mean that you're, safe, right? This kind of scares her, and she talks about how she has a way to deal with this, right? And so we transition over to seeing her by the river, just kind of self-flagellating, which means that she's whipping herself, right? If you've ever seen the Da Vinci Code or any of the Da Vinci Code movies, you know kind of what this looks like. And she's by the river. She kind of encounters a demonic entity for a second in the river, and then she turns around and this naked woman is behind her. And this turns out to be Maria, I think it was her name. I can't remember it from the first issue. And this is who Clelia was with before she made the pact with Lev, right? So we basically understand that Clelia saw this woman, was compassionate with her, and tried to help her hide because people thought she was a witch. This woman then seduces Clelia, kind of uses her, or at least that's kind of how it's framed. And then later, Clelia does something that is like bad, right? She basically uses the other woman as a scapegoat, and this is where kind of her issues kind of start, right? And so we go through this, and then Clelia prepares to do a proper concert. She tells Lev she wants to rebrand, and Lev is like, no, it's not the right time to do that. Basically because it's essentially the same thing that his mother told him, right? The same thing that Lilith told him to do, which is get rid of her and rebrand her later, right? But Clelia wants to do it while she's still alive, right? Well, before she's been sanctified or whatever. And so Lev is like, no, you can't do that. He gets kind of angry, and then he calms down and he tells her, just go out there and do your best. We'll figure this out. She does. And halfway through, we have this crazy invasion, right? Basically, it turns out that the proper church or whatever has infiltrated the Three Cross Church or whatever they're called, and they are basically killing a bunch of people right now while Clelia is having her concert in order to basically start discrediting her, right? So what they do is they kill someone on stage, and then while Clelia is singing, someone else shows up, steals her thunder, reveals themselves to be Isa Christa, which is, like Jesu Cristo. It's like the feminine version of Jesus Christ. And she miraculously heals this person that was killed on stage, right? And so she actually commits a miracle compared to the other people, and compared to Clelia and all the people like her that don't really do miracles. They kind of just act like they do, right? And so this starts this kind of thing where Clelia basically feels like her thunder's been stolen. She gets upset and she tries to go fight this woman. She kind of confronts her after this woman, Isa Christa, has been able to gain a lot of followers because of her actual, special abilities. And when she goes to confront her, they fight. And then Isa Christa reveals herself. She's like, it's weird that you don't remember me. And I'm so happy that you don't, because now I can reveal it to you and make you suffer more, right? And basically it turns out that this is Maria come back from the dead, reincarnated in some way. It turns out that Dorothy is an angel and has joined forces with Isa Christa to try to return God to this earth, right? And so it's a really complicated, convoluted, ridiculous thing, and it seems like there's going to be like this whole holy war aspect in the background. And then the story actually ends with Isa Christa and Dorothy chopping up Clelia into pieces, putting her in a box, and throwing her into the ocean. And then Lev figures it out at the end, and he's going to look for her, and he doesn't know that she's in this box in the ocean. And I'm very excited to see where it goes. Like, this was quite enjoyable to read. The ending, the plot twist, all of that was good. I really, really enjoyed that. But I do think that the story is a bit convoluted. There's a lot of stuff happening. I feel like a more linear kind of story would have been better, or one that doesn't really have so many twists and turns, right? Like, maybe you could have cut off Lev's character and just had Clelia and Lilith be directly in line with each other, and you could have avoided these extra scenes where you kind of have to establish what the hell Lev is doing and why he's doing it, right? And maybe you could have just made Isa Christa and Dorothy the same character as well. That simplifies things a lot, makes it more streamlined, but then it also makes it so that the story takes way less time to tell, right? And so maybe wouldn't fit this format that they're going for here with DSTLRY, right? So I don't know. In general, I think that the story is good. I think I'm enjoying it a lot more than some of her other stories. But the release schedule is quite bad. The story is kind of convoluted, so it's hard to track. And the characters don't repeat their names enough, or have their names repeated enough for me to memorize them, right? Like, over time, you learn characters' names because people keep telling them, what they're called. But so far, the woman in Claudia's memories, I can't remember her name, and Issa Krista's name is only relevant because it was like in gold letters throughout the book, right? Like the 2 times that it showed up, and so I remember it because there's just such a strong image associated with it. And I feel like there should be more emphasis put on making sure that people know the names of these characters, right? But it's good. I recommend that you guys catch up to this if you're interested. I think it'll be enjoyable to you. But it might also be kind of offensive if you're someone that's religious, right? Like this might be a bit too out there. And the fact that it actually has like angels and demons might be, you know, concerning to some of you that are actually properly into religion, right? Now, since I don't have that issue, I don't have that problem, it doesn't really matter to me. I just find enjoyment in the aesthetics, right? So, yeah, those are my thoughts. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you thought down below, and thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys later.